Hi there and welcome to Art from the Cottage. So we're going to paint a seascape today. This is some of the ingredients that I use for the texture of the beach, and I use some sand, some glue and some filler, just ordinary decorator's filler. So I'm applying the glue where I want some texture, and I'm going to put some sand over the top of that, and then in the foreground I'm going to work that filler into something that resembles sort of a beach, and you can put some more sand in with the filler if you like to make it look rocky. So just work in the filler with a palette knife and just make it into some bits, blobs and marks that are going to look good when you paint over it to give the idea of a beach. And I'm going to make sure that this is absolutely dry. Would be better if it was left overnight, but for this demonstration I'm just going to dry it, and I'm going to concentrate on the sky so that I'm nowhere near the foreground. So this is what it looks like, and obviously now it's got to dry. The colours that I'm using today are cerulean blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, raw sienna, raw umber, burnt umber, cream, yellow ochre and white. So now I'm putting in, working on the sky and putting in lots of dark blues, and I mix the blues, the cobalt blue and the ultramarine, and mix it with a black, or the burnt umber. You could do that as well, that's nice, and have it so that it's different shades in the sky. And here I've mixed a little tiny bit of yellow ochre with some cream or some white, and the way I make my cream is just to add a little bit of yellow ochre to a lot of white. So that's what I put in the sky, just what I call the underlayer, and I'll let that dry. And now I'm starting to put in the horizon, the sea, and I'm going between the two. And I'm starting to put a little bit of cloud and try and get a shape that looks quite nice in the sky. I'm quite happy with a minimal look at the moment, but I will put some highlights into that. And I'm just bringing in the lovely yellowy ochre colour at the bottom of the clouds. Okay, so that sky, believe it or not, there's just a few little adjustments to make to that. I'm quite liking the look of that. Anyway, I'm starting to add some lovely dark navy blue into where the sea is going to be, and you'll notice that what I do is I'm avoiding the sand and I'm avoiding the texture paste at the moment. So when it comes to actually painting over whatever texture you've got, it's best to dab it in. Don't drag the brush over it, just dab over it, because you don't want to pull it off. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm just going in with that lovely dark blue, and I don't just do one shade of blue. I go over with usually three shades of blue, some cerulean blue and some cobalt blue and ultramarine, or any blue that you've got, dark blue, that I just leave sort of patches of it. So now the sky is dry, I can add highlights, and I'm just going to put a few highlights and keep it quite subtle, this sky. Well, subtle for me anyway, because I do like stormy skies. And now I'm going to attempt some sandy colours in the foreground. So with this, it's like the rest of my paintings. you do layers. So you put on some colour and you put on another colour, and all the time you're exposing the colour that you've just put on slightly, and you put some lights and then you put some darks, and you just keep layering and layering the appropriate colours for that area. And you'll see that I'm doing this with my fingers. Most of that work there was done with my fingers. So the painting to the right of the painting that I'm working on is just to give me some ideas on colours, mainly colours, that how they look, and just inspiration, really, a bit of inspiration for the next painting. And so I'm still just adding bits and pieces of colour here and there into that sand area, and I've actually extended the sand area into the sea, because I thought the sea was a bit too much. Now what I'm doing here is I'm putting glue, PVA glue. It doesn't matter. Well, yes, it does. It's got to dry clear. It's got to dry absolutely clear. I've forgotten the name of the glue they have in America, but it's a very common glue. Anyway, I'm putting it over the acrylic paint because I'm going to put white. I'm going to put the surf over the blue. And I've mentioned it before in other videos. If you put white over blue, especially a dark blue, ultramarine and cobalt, it does tend to bleed through, even if it's dry. Even if your paint is dry, it can bleed through, and then you end up with a pale blue surf. So I always use the barrier of the glue. And I've remembered the name of the glue that they use a lot in America, and it's Elmer's glue. And so I've decided to put in a couple of yachts, a couple of boats on the horizon. And I just do this with a little palette, a really tiny palette knife, and I just sort of dip it, the edge of it, into the white or cream, or whatever colour the sails are going to be, and just put them in that way. I don't use the brush for the yachts, and just put an impression, because that's what we're doing here, impressionist painting. It's not meant to be a full-on, sort of photograph or very realistic, super realistic. It's an impression. So that's what I do. I use the palette knife to do that. So while I'm on the subject of the boats, the so-called experts always say that if you're adding something to a painting like these boats, or maybe some birds or something like that, they say you should always use odd numbers. And I'm afraid I have to disagree with that, because I think that these two little boats that I put in, they look quite charming. So sorry, so-called experts, I disagree with you. So I'm coming towards the end of the painting, and I hope you enjoyed the video. You can support my channel via super thanks, or just simply liking and subscribing. And with that, I'll say bye for now, and love from Cornwall.